Hello, hello. Thank you guys for having me. As she said, my name is Alyse Hope, and I am a media professional. I currently work for BNSF Railway, and my title is a creative service manager. This is a new role for me. This is a new company for me, and I'm super excited to work here. Basically, within this role, I'm in charge of a lot of our digital assets and some of our events that we do. So anything that's media related or creative content related, it kind of comes to me. But again, this is a new role, so like I'm kind of somewhat being baptized by fire, learning every day. But it's really awesome and it's a really, really good company. Now, just to give you a little background how I got into where I am, ever since I was a little kid, I have always been a media fanatic. Like I've loved media since I can always remember. And my mom and my dad were like, "Well, since you love media so much, how about you go to school for it?" And so that's exactly what I did. I went to school at the University of North Texas, and I got my degree in radio, television, and film, and a minor in marketing. I did it in 4 years, and then I got an opportunity of a lifetime to work for a nationally syndicated show called The Michael Baisden Show. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not, but it was one of the top syndicated urban shows that was in the country. It was awesome. It was a really huge show. And for me to be so young to work at that and being a producer was like really, really big. So I did that for about 3.5 years, and then the show ended. And I'm gonna tell you, it rocked my world because I didn't realize, when you work in media, like when you work for TV shows and you work for radio, when the show ends, your job ends. So it's kind of like, oh shoot, like what am I going to do next? So, I cried my tears. I had to get myself together, and then eventually, the company that syndicated that show hired me on as a sales coordinator in the sales department, which was really cool because now I'm on the business side. I get a chance to see how things work from that point of view, and I get a chance to work with all the radio shows. And if when the show ends, the show just ends. I continue just going to the next show. So I really like that part about it. And so yeah, I learned like how advertising works, marketing works, like sales, promos, all those commercials that you hear on TV. I learned all about. I learned how to like put them together. Like that was pretty much my role. And I worked with all kinds of different radio shows at the time. Like it was Kid Craddock in the morning show. I'm not sure if you guys remember those type of that show, but I worked with multiple different shows. So it was cool. I did that for a while, but I was just like, okay, I like this, but I want a little more. I want to do something different. And so fortunately enough, literally, when I tell you literally right next door, I literally walked across the street to my interview. It was a media company called Reach Media Inc., which is a subsidiary of Radio One. And I got a role there as a sales coordinator there. But this is even bigger because for those of you who know who radio, I got a chance to work, or I worked for Tom Joyner. Tom Joyner is the godfather of radio. Like he is it. So I worked for him for several years until he retired. So meaning I got a chance to do the Fantastic Work cruise that he does, or he did every year. And like it was another event that we put on called the Allstate Tom Joyner Film Reunion. You name it, I did it. I was in the room full of celebrities and just it was really, really, really cool. And I did that for a while. And then next thing you know, what happens? COVID happens. And so um once COVID happened, I'm just like, okay, a lot of what I did was event based and we of course I did a lot of marketing campaigns, whatever, but it still was surrounded by a lot of events. So my role was slowed down a lot. I still have my job, but my job slowed down a lot. So I'm like, okay, I got all this free time. What am I going to do with it? And I always had the desire to go back to school. I didn't mention before, but I actually went back to grad school for about a year or so. But then that opportunity came with the Michael Baisden show, so I quit school and did that. So fast forward, so I'm like, okay, let me just go back to grad school, or let me apply. So I applied to SMU, Southern Methodist University, which is a very, very prestigious school. And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of had like imposter syndrome. Like I'm just gonna apply. Like I probably ain't gonna get in anyway. Let me just apply. Well, sure enough, I got in. So I'm just like, okay, I'm in this thing now. What? So I'm like, I'm super nervous because again, in my head, I'm thinking like, I don't belong here. Like I shouldn't be here at this school. But then it's like, yeah, I should be here because I apply and obviously they like me, so I'm gonna go. So we have to realize sometimes don't doubt yourself. We have a lot of self-doubt and you can do anything that you put your mind to. And like I told myself, I'm gonna complete these 2 years. What I didn't do, I didn't tell anybody. I really told like maybe just a few people. I didn't tell my job. So meaning I was going to work during the day and going to school at night and crying, like just grinding it out. But no one knew. Like no one knew. So I'm like at work, like struggling over here because I just didn't. I didn't want anybody to know what's going on. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking like I'm gonna fail. But and so, like, if I don't tell nobody, nobody will know that I'm failing, whatever, because no one knew I was in grad school. But fast forward 2 years later, I wound up completing my grad program. Before I completed it, I wound up leaving my job at Radio One, Reach Media. I left like in April, and I had an opportunity, a huge opportunity, to work for one of the top consulting firms in the country called Bain and Company. It's like when people found out that I was interning at this place, they were like, "Oh my God, like how'd you get this internship?" Again, imposter syndrome, because it's like, how do you get into like these elite places or whatever? But I got into this internship program, loved the program. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't going to get a full-time role here. Like you just was not going to tell me that. Like I was going to work there. It was going to be great. And then so I'm going to summer school, doing my internship program. I'm wrapping it up. I finished school. I finished my program, and then the economy starts crashing, and then people are losing their jobs left and right, and everything's put on hold. So I'm just kind of like, what the heck? Like now I graduated in 2008 in the heart of recession. Now I graduate again in another recession. So I'm just like, this is crazy. So I'm just like, God, what is going on? Like I'm doing all the work, but I don't got nothing to show for it. But then I digress. Eventually I walk across the stage, but as I'm preparing to do that, I get a random phone call from this guy, and he was like, "Hey, I know it's last minute, but um, is there a way that we can do an interview like tomorrow?" Mind y'all, it's like the day before Thanksgiving. So I'm like, "Well, shoot, I ain't got nothing else to do. Like, yeah, let's chop it up." And we had an amazing conversation. It was so good. Like it was only probably supposed to talk like maybe 10 minutes or so. We talked for like maybe 45 minutes. It was really, really good. So he was all right. I like you. Now I gotta prepare you for this panel interview. So I wound up doing a panel interview. And y'all, let me tell y'all, these panel interviews are real. Like they're very real. You have to prepare for them. You can't just go in there blindsided. You have to do your research on these companies because they're not playing. They're not like these interviews are not like back in the day, like how you just go have like a little quick question. No, like they're doing panel interviews, they're doing case studies, like this stuff is like grimy. Like it's very intense because they just want to weed people out who they feel are not fit for their program or for their culture. So that's just that tidbit. Prepare, 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 prepare. But long story short, I wound up passing through all that, and I got my new role where I'm at right now. So that's just kind of like my little story, my little timeline. But along the way, things that I've learned, even throughout high school, college, grad school, ask for help. A lot of times, we are just so like big headed and just, we just we just don't want to ask for help. I don't know why that is, or we just maybe we're scared, or we think that the question that we may ask is like dumb or stupid, but it's really not because that same question that you have, the other person was thinking the same thing. And just go ahead and just bite the bullet and ask the question. Another thing is become friends with your professors. My parents used to instill that in me all the time. So that was one of the first thing I did when I got to school, when I got to college. I lived the first day of class. I went to that professor like, "Hey, my name is Alyse Hope. I just want to introduce myself." Like I would go to their office hours. Like they knew me by name on campus. If nothing else, like my professors knew me by name. And that made all the difference in the world because when it came time for me, like when I didn't know what I was doing, if I needed help, they were so willing to help me. So that C wound up being a B. Like if it was like a 79 or something, like they bumped it up because they knew, oh, she's willing and she's studying. Like don't go to them at the very last minute because they don't care. They care about those who cares about themselves, basically. Another thing that I've learned is network across. We are always so trying to like network up, which is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. but you never know what the person right next door to you has, what type of jewels or information they can provide you to get you to the next level. And I've definitely learned that. And network, just network in general. A lot of times we're just so like hermits, we want to just stick to ourselves. You're not going to get anywhere without networking. I know for myself because I'm a networking queen. Like it's not what you know, it really is who you know to get yourself to the next level. And it's them mentioning your names and on those closed doors when you're not around. So definitely make sure that you network. Another thing for me is get yourself active in the community. Get involved. If it's nothing, if it's once a month or once every couple months, like get involved in the community, give back because that stuff will help you in the long run. Believe it or not, it really will. Because a lot of times these jobs, they look for that. They want to see what can you bring to us. Like how are you contributing to your community? Uh, let's see. Some other things that I wish I would have done. Oh, but I did not do, which I did it in grad school, but I didn't do it in undergrad. I didn't really talk to my advisor in undergrad. I don't know like what I was thinking. Like I talked to my professors, yes, but like your grad advisors there are there to advise you through school. So it's like yeah, you might want to talk to them. But I did do it in grad school. When I tell you, it made all the difference in the world. Like it really, really did. So I highly recommend you reaching out to them because they are there to help you succeed. And if they're not helping you, then you need to get another grad advisor. Yeah. Um, and then make sure that you leave time for yourself. Like sometimes you need some me time. Like we're always going and going and going and going and going. Get your Zen on. Get your me time. Get your yoga and your Pilates, whatever it may be, whatever you feel that is healthy for you. Because sometimes mental health is a real thing. We didn't really talk about that, or at least in my generation when we were younger. Now it's a prevalent thing, but like mental health is a real it's a thing, and we have to take it seriously because you never know what someone's state is in. And be kind, like just be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I know this seems like may seem trivial, but it's actually a real thing. You never realize like that one word that you say can trigger somebody to be in a good mood or a bad mood. So just take that into consideration. Um, I don't know. I think that's all the jewels that I can think of. But yeah. What you got for me, Portia?
Well, the interesting life you have had is so awesome. Like, I always love just hearing the backstory of how, someone has gotten started in their profession. And I'm like, yeah, I remember those time joiner cruises. Yes, she was a part of that. And she's a
Yeah.
celebrity. Oh my gosh. No, it's just awesome. Um, it's always great, for everyone to be able to just share, the things that they've gone through and just seeing, where everyone is at. It's like, I can relate. I'm like, grad school definitely was working full time, going to class. And
Yep.
that's before all the nice little fun master programs they have now. No, it was summer, fall, and spring, three
Yeah.
years. So it's like,
That's
oh,
a
it's
lot.
like
That's
I
a
have,
lot of work, especially. That's a lot of work.
and we're full time. So
Yeah.
the gems, the gems, the
Mm-mm.
gems that we can just provide and definitely make sure we're championing for those who are coming after us. So it's just so great to hear, how you were able to, just go after what you wanted to do and then just stick with it. I just love it.
One thing I will applaud my parents, I'm super grateful for my parents. They're CPAs, they're numbers people. I'm completely opposite from my parents. Of course, in the perfect world, they probably would have wanted me to be an accountant, but they encouraged me to go after my dream. And because of that, I stuck with it and I made something of it. Sometimes I think it's not always true, but sometimes I think when you force your kid to do something that they don't want to do, they don't put their all into it. And when they don't put their all into it, they don't get, good to return from it. So I think if you just kind of, encourage your students or whoever if you to do what they genuinely want to do, then something positive will come out of it and they'll make it happen. And the fact that my parents they from day one they've always encouraged me to do what you want to do, and I've been able to make a successful career out of it. So I have to shout out to my parents for that.
That's dope. I love the push behind. I love, the support, that you were able to have and just having those parents that definitely they had their field that they were in, but the encouragement that you receive, to go after your dreams. And that's a nice story. It's
Thank
not
you.
going to the same fields. I know when I was in high school, it was like limited, and I'm grateful that
Mhm.
it's expanded. You know, what 15 plus years, of
Yep.
work that people have definitely built. It's not just a cookie cutter. Oh, you have
It's
to do
not.
this. So just hearing your story is like, oh wow, like
The sky's the
this.
limit. It really,
It
really is.
really is.
You can really do whatever you want to. Like, you can. Yeah.
Literally, like there's a lane
For
for it.
everything. Yeah.
And just working hard and not giving up and leaving those thoughts that we try to lead on like, oh, we can't do it, knowing that we can. This is
Mhm.
something. If you're meant for it, the pathway will definitely be provided. So
Yep.
I'm just kudos to you. That's all
Thank
I have to say.
you.
Kudos,
Thank you,
kudos,
thank you.
kudos.
Yeah.
I
One
love
thing
it.
I can say that, and this is, when you think positive, you get positive results. And I can say, like, like, if when we wake up in the morning, but oh, today's gonna be a bad day. You know what? It's gonna be a bad day. Like, it really is gonna be a bad day. If you wake up saying, you know what? It's gonna be a good day. Like, if you put yourself in that positive mindset, and don't get me wrong, like, I there are days when I don't be feeling it. Like, I don't be feeling it, but you just kind of almost have to faith it till you make it, is what I always say. Faith it till you make it. And it'll work itself out. Sometimes you just have to just really almost like playing mind tricks with yourself, But just always think positive thoughts, you'll get positive results. So yeah.
Most definitely. So we just appreciate you for sharing your gems with us here for the Create Champions Career Exploration Chat.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.